The celestial chamber was the most sacred place in the known galaxy, hidden deep inside the ancient moon of Virion 7. Once every generation, the Star Throne awakened and called the galaxy's leaders to witness its next choice. The throne had not accepted anyone in the last 300 years. Many tried, all failed. Some walked away humiliated. Others were thrown across the chamber, their bodies broken by the throne's rejection. Only a true heir could survive its test. So when the silver doors opened and a human boy stepped forward, the entire room fell into an awkward silence, followed by quiet chuckles and then loud laughter. He was skinny, with messy hair, worn boots, and a uniform that belonged to janitors. He walked slowly, nervously, his eyes darting toward the crowd. Every powerful being in the galaxy was watching. Alien emperors with golden skin, cybernetic lords with glowing eyes, and armored champions from war-torn worlds. And now this human boy stood between them and the ancient throne. His name was Jace Wren, and until that moment, no one had ever heard of him. He had worked as a cleaner in the lower halls of the temple, sweeping floors and wiping down control panels. Now, without warning, the throne had summoned him. Not a soldier, not a leader, a nobody. The throne itself stood tall in the center of the chamber, built from metal not found on any known planet, glowing faintly with golden lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. It was silent, waiting. Jace stepped closer, each step echoing through the dome. Whispers filled the air. "This must be a mistake," someone said. "He's just a human boy." "Is this a prank?" "The throne will crush him." But the throne did not reject him. It did not flash red or pulse in anger. It simply waited. Jace reached it. He looked back once, his face full of fear and confusion. Then he slowly sat down. For a moment, nothing happened. A few laughed again. A woman in silver armor smirked and said, "See? It's broken." But then everything changed. The lights in the chamber flickered. A low humming sound filled the air. The throne's lines turned from gold to bright white. Then the entire seat glowed, energy swirling around, Jace like a storm of stars. The laughter stopped instantly. The air grew thick. Jace's eyes widened as a beam of light rose from the throne into the sky above, striking the very ceiling of the dome. The walls lit up with ancient symbols, and the entire temple shook. The throne had accepted him. No one laughed now. Many stood in shock. Some dropped to their knees. Others reached for weapons, unsure what they had just seen. Jace was frozen, his hands gripping the armrests of the throne, his body surrounded by soft golden light. His heart pounded. He could feel something inside him opening, memories that were not his, voices in languages he had never learned, stars he had never seen. And in the deepest part of his mind, a single thought echoed. "You are the one." The ancient AI system of the temple spoke for the first time in centuries. Throne acceptance confirmed. Candidate Jace Wren, species human, compatibility 99.9%. Protocol, initiating awakening sequence. Around the chamber, consoles that had been dead for generations powered on. Screens flickered to life. Signals were sent across deep space. Beacons on forgotten worlds blinked for the first time in 1,000 years. Ancient ships buried in asteroid belts stirred in their sleep. Across the stars, something old had begun to wake. Inside the chamber, the leaders who once laughed now stood in silence, their faces pale. Some looked at Jace with fear, others with anger. One whispered, "He's going to destroy everything." Another muttered, This shouldn't be possible." Jace slowly stood up from the throne. The glow around him faded, but never fully disappeared. He looked at his hands, then at the crowd. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. The silence said everything. They had mocked him, called him nothing, and yet the throne had chosen him. Not them, not their champions, not their warriors. As Jace walked down the steps, the throne behind him remained active, pulsing like a living heart. Every step he took echoed like thunder. Nobody stopped. Him. Nobody moved. The boy they had laughed at had become something more, something they didn't understand, something they couldn't control, and across the stars, ancient machines whispered one word: awakened. The days after the throne chose Jace were filled with fear, confusion, and whispers in every corner of the galaxy. No one could explain how a simple human boy had been accepted by the most powerful relic in history. Leaders who once ruled with pride now sat in silence, watching as systems across space responded to Jace's connection with the throne. Some called him the true heir. Others called him a threat to the balance of power. But Jace didn't feel powerful. He felt lost. He had never trained to be a ruler, never studied ancient codes, never wanted any of this. The temple officials kept him inside the star chamber under heavy guard. They didn't speak to him unless necessary. He was fed, tested, scanned, and watched every hour of the day. He asked questions but got no real answers. They feared him now, not because of who he was, but because of what the throne had turned him into. Strange things began to happen around him. Doors opened before he touched them. Lights flickered when he was upset. Old systems, long dead, came back to life when he walked near them. Most believed the throne was unlocking ancient power through him. Jace wasn't sure. He only knew one thing. He could feel something inside him changing. One night, while sitting alone in the throne room, he heard a voice. It was deep, calm, and echoed in his mind like thunder in a cave. "You are not ready," the voice said. Jace stood, looking around. "Who's there?" he asked aloud. "I am what remains of Thalor, the last star wielder," the voice answered. "My soul was bound to this throne when I died, thousands of years ago. I watched your kind rise and fall. You were chosen not by chance, but by need." Jace didn't know what to say. He felt the presence inside the throne now, watching him, testing him. Thalor's voice explained that the throne had waited centuries for someone with the right heart, someone with courage, not hunger for power. "You were not trained, but your heart is clean," Thalor said. "And that is what the galaxy needs." Jace asked why he was feeling strange things, why machines listened to him. Thalor told him it was the beginning. "The throne is unlocking your true code. Your mind, your soul, your body will change." Jace sat in silence, fear and wonder mixing inside him. The next morning, when guards came to bring him food, they stepped back quickly. The guards had red tattoos, marks of the planetary military, but now they looked unsure. "You're glowing again," one of them whispered. That day, council. Leaders met secretly in the lower levels. They had seen enough. "We must remove him," said a dark-skinned woman with silver eyes. "He is too dangerous. He can activate weapons we cannot control." Another agreed. "The Star Throne has never accepted someone like him. He threatens everything we built." "He must be eliminated quietly," a third said. That night, under cover of darkness, shadow assassins crept into the throne chamber, silent, fast, trained to kill without a sound. Jace was asleep in the throne, his body resting on the ancient seat. One assassin raised a glowing blade and moved forward, but before the blade could touch his skin, the throne reacted. A golden shield burst from its base, throwing all three attackers across the room. They hit the walls hard, groaning in pain. Jace awoke, heart racing. "I warned you," Thalor's voice said in his head. "They will not stop until you awaken fully." Jace stood slowly. The shield faded, but power still surrounded him like wind. He looked at the fallen assassins, eyes wide with shock. They tried to crawl away, but something held them down. an invisible force. The doors burst open and guards rushed in, weapons, ready. But when they saw what had happened, they didn't speak. They simply stared at Jace, as if seeing him for the first time. The temple was no longer safe. Jace now knew that those in power feared what he could become, and they would try again. Somewhere in his heart, a new feeling began to rise. Not fear, but fire. Not confusion, but purpose. He had not asked for this. But maybe he was meant to finish something that began long before he was born. The next sunrise brought no peace to Jace. The temple was quiet, too quiet. The guards who used to watch his every move now kept their distance. Some wouldn't even meet his eyes. Word had spread about what happened in the night. The assassins, the glowing shield, the throne's deadly protection. Across the galaxy, the news moved faster than light. "The human boy cannot be touched," headlines said. "The throne has awakened." Some feared him, some worshipped him, and some were preparing to destroy him. Jace walked through the halls alone, passing through ancient passages that had not been opened in centuries. The doors unlocked at his touch. Lights lit up wherever he stepped. He didn't understand how it was happening, but something deep inside guided him now, like a memory from a past life. He found a chamber buried under the throne room. Inside it, walls of crystal showed stars that no longer existed. In the center floated a small cube, glowing softly. When Jace reached out to touch it, a voice filled the room. Not Thaler this time, but something older, colder. "Designate confirmed. Jace Wren. Bloodline match, 7%. Status, Restorer." The cube spun in the air and began to unfold, revealing a hologram of a great war. Jace saw fleets of ships crashing into each other in dark space. He saw entire planets swallowed by light. And in the center of it all was a figure sitting on the star throne, leading them. But it wasn't Jace. It was someone with the same eyes. "Who is that?" Jace whispered. "The first human to sit on the throne," the voice replied. "She was your ancestor. She tried to save the galaxy. She failed." The vision ended. The cube snapped shut. "You must not fail," it said. Jace staggered back. He had never known his family history. He had grown up in a mining colony, raised by a mechanic who wasn't even related to him. Now, the galaxy said he was part of a bloodline that once ruled the stars. He didn't feel like a leader. He felt like a kid with a storm inside him. That night, Jace sat again on the throne, staring at his hands. "Why me?" he asked the stars. "Why now?" Thaler's voice returned, softer this time. "Because they will come. The ones who ended her. The ones who built the silence." Jace didn't understand. "What silence?" Thaler replied. "The silence that erased history. That wiped out your kind from the records. That turned truth into myth." Just then, alarms blared in the temple. Explosions shook the floor. Outside in the sky, dark ships descended. Sleek, black, and silent, they moved like shadows. No lights, no signal, only death. The guards screamed orders. The council panicked. The power Jace felt for days now flared inside his chest like a star about to explode. He ran to the top tower and looked out. The fleet was enormous. Hundreds of ships, symbols no one could read anymore glowing red across their hulls. "They're here," Thaler said. "The ones who silenced your bloodline." The temple's defenses came online, ancient cannons rising from the ground. They fired, but the enemy moved too fast. Energy beams sliced through the air, tearing through the outer walls. Jace clenched his fists. He couldn't run. He couldn't hide. He turned and ran to the throne, heart racing. He sat. The room lit up instantly. "Emergency protocol active," said the AI. "Defensive control transfer to user, Jace Wren." Holograms of the battlefield floated in the air. Ships, shields, enemy positions. Jace didn't know how, but his hands moved like they'd done this before. With every touch, energy pulsed from the throne. Forgotten weapons activated. Old codes unlocked. The temple became alive. Massive towers rose from beneath the surface. Lights across nearby moons flickered on. Across space, old satellites, once dead, turned and locked onto targets. A storm of fire and light erupted from the temple. Enemy ships exploded one by one. Jace's body glowed again, eyes lit with power, his voice shaking the room. "I didn't start this war," he whispered, "but I will finish it." Somewhere deep inside him, the past was waking up. The blood of the first star ruler was not just in his veins, it was alive. And it was ready to fight again. The battle was over, but the temple was no longer whole. Smoke rose from broken towers. Fires burned in the outer rings. Bodies, both, human and not, lay still on the stone floors. But in the center of it all, Jace stood on the star throne, his eyes dimming as the power faded slowly from his hands. He had never seen war before this, never heard the cries of dying men, never smelled the burning metal and blood in the air. He had stopped the enemy, yes, but he had also awakened something far bigger. Across the galaxy, thousands of people were watching. The throne's energy had triggered ancient satellites that broadcasted the event across the stars. On colony worlds, deep in the floating markets, in military bases orbiting dead planets, everyone saw it. A boy no one respected, sitting on a seat of power, controlling weapons no army remembered, defeating a force that hadn't been seen in thousands of years. And now, the galaxy was listening. Messages began arriving from far systems. Some offered alliance. Some offered surrender, but some offered warnings. "They will come," one message said. "Now that you've awakened the throne, they will come for it." Jace sat in silence, listening to the voices around him. Thaler's spirit spoke calmly inside his head. The ones who came today were scouts, shadows of the silence. But the real force is still out there. They will not stop. They are afraid of what you are becoming. Jace didn't answer. He was tired. His body ached. His mind felt heavy with visions that were not his own. Memories of star battles, of ancient halls, of rulers long dead, all flooding into him like rivers breaking through a dam. He was no longer just Jace. He was something more, but he didn't know what. That night, a girl named Elira entered the throne room. She had watched everything from the city below. Her father had died defending the temple wall. She was not a soldier, not a leader, but her eyes were strong, steady. "They're afraid of you," she said softly. Jace looked up. "So am I," he whispered. Elira stepped closer. "You stopped them. You saved all of us. That matters." Jace looked at her, really looked. She wasn't afraid. Not like the others. "What do I do now?" he asked. "You lead," she said. The next day, the council returned, but not with threats this time. They knelt, the same people who had once mocked him. Now they called him Starborn, a title from old legends. But Jace didn't care about titles. He wanted to understand why the throne had chosen him. In the temple's hidden archives, he found the truth. Thousands of years ago, humanity had ruled much of the galaxy, not through fear, but through wisdom. The Star Throne had been built as a beacon, a living machine connected to the hearts of those who sat on it. Only those with the right balance of courage and kindness could unlock its power. But then came the silence. No one knew what they were, aliens, machines, or something darker. They erased history, destroyed worlds, and when they came for the last star ruler, she vanished into battle and never returned. Now, Jace carried her bloodline, and they knew it. He stood on the edge of the broken temple wall looking at the stars. "They're watching," Thaler's voice said. "They know you're awake. The silence is breaking, but war will follow." Jace nodded. He was ready now. He would not run. He would rebuild the throne world, awaken the lost defenses, unite the systems still hiding in fear. But more than that, he would find the silence, and this time they would not erase him. The sky above the throne world had changed. Once filled with soft blue light, now it burned with the glow of defense satellites and distant fires. Across the galaxy, chaos had begun to spread. Factions once hidden now moved in the open. Systems that had been quiet for centuries were waking up, either to fight for the throne or to destroy it. And at the center of it all stood Jace, still just a boy, yet now a name spoken in every corner of space. He didn't sleep much anymore. His dreams were filled with stars falling, voices crying out, and a great shadow swallowing entire planets. The silence was coming. But no one knew what they looked like. Some said they were machines older than time. Others believed they were something more. Something that hated light, memory, and hope. Jace only knew one thing. They feared the Star Throne, and that meant it had the power to fight back. Deep within the temple, engineers and builders from every world had begun to work. They rebuilt the towers, repaired the weapons, and dug into the archives for lost tech. But it wasn't enough. Jace needed something greater, something forgotten. He called for the search to begin, not just for weapons, but for people. Those with the bloodline, those who could still hear the throne's call. "Find the last Starborn," he said. "We cannot fight alone." Elira stayed close, helping him guide the council, calming the frightened and inspiring the broken. She never asked for power, never tried to claim the spotlight, but her strength held Jace together. He trusted her. In the third week after the attack, a signal came from the edge of known space. It was a recording, barely holding together. Static. Filled most of the message, but one word cut through clearly: run. Jace ordered a small fleet to investigate. He didn't send anyone else, he went himself. The throne's AI had connected to his very heartbeat now. He didn't just command ships, he moved through them. When they reached the origin point, they found only wreckage. A city-sized space station torn to pieces, floating in silence. But no bodies, no survivors. Just one massive, half-burned symbol carved into the metal, an ancient mark that matched the temple wall. It was the mark of the silence. They had returned. Jace felt something cold inside his chest, like a thread of fear trying to wrap around his heart. But he didn't pull back. He flew deeper into the station's remains, searching for answers. In the center chamber, he found it. A girl, no older than him, locked inside a stasis pod. Still alive, barely breathing. Her skin shimmered like silver. Her eyes opened, glowing with light. She whispered something in a language he didn't understand, then fainted. Jace brought her back. The temple healers worked quickly. The girl didn't speak for 2 days. When she finally sat up, she stared straight at Jace and said, "They're hunting you." Her name was Kale. She had been taken by the silence, locked away to die slowly because she carried a rare gift, one that let her connect with ancient machines. Jace realized she was like him. Starborn, but from a different line. "They fear us," she said, "because together we can wake what they tried to bury." That night, Jace, Kale, and Elira stood before the throne. The AI spoke. Again, its voice deeper, stronger. "Unity protocol engaged. Multiple Starborn detected. Access level ascendant." A hidden chamber opened below the throne, revealing a spiral staircase leading into blackness. No one had entered it in 10,000 years. Jace knew what he had to do. He turned to Kale and Elira. "The silence is moving faster than we thought. We need to understand what this throne really is, and what it can become. Illyra touched his arm. We'll go together. As they descended, the door sealed above them, and the walls began to glow with ancient runes. Visions appeared, galactic, maps, wars long past, symbols of creatures made of shadow. But there was also hope, a pattern, a weapon, a plan. Jace's blood hummed with energy as the final message burned into the wall. Only when the lost rise together can the throne burn away the dark, Jace whispered to himself, then we will rise. The chamber beneath the Star Throne was unlike anything Jace had ever seen. It was alive. Walls breathing softly like lungs, lights pulsing like a heart, and strange symbols floating through the air like dust from the past. He, Illyra, and Kale stood in the center, where a massive structure shaped like a star engine rose from the floor. It was not just old, it was eternal. This was the core, the true source of the throne's power, and it was broken. Cracks ran through its surface like veins filled with dying light. The silence had struck here long ago. Thalor's voice echoed through the chamber, filled with sorrow. This is where the first Starborn fell. She sealed the power, rather. Then let it be taken. Jace stepped forward, placing his hand on the cracked surface. The core responded, light flickering weakly. Then Kale touched it beside him. And then Illyra. Together their energy flowed into the throne, and the core began to breathe again. One by one, ancient lights came alive across the planet. Towers lit up. Defense rings turned in orbit. The AI's voice returned, louder than ever. Galactic Defense Network rebooted, all systems online. Warning, hostile fleet approaching. Above them, in the sky, it began. From the edge of known space, the silence came like a storm. Their ships were black, sharp, moving like shadows cutting through stars. No signals, no messages, no chance for peace, just war. The temple trembled. Jace raced back to the throne, sitting down as the power surged through him. This time, he didn't resist it. He let it in. The weight of the ancient rulers, the memories of thousands of battles, the knowledge of galaxies, they all became part of him. He was no longer just Jace. He was the Starborn commander. The throne room transformed. Weapons rose from hidden walls. Starships launched from beneath the ground. Across distant worlds, old allies awakened. Systems that had once served. The throne lit their beacons and joined the call. Even those who doubted him now rallied behind him, because they had seen what was coming, and they knew only one force could stand against it. Jace gave the order. The battle began. Above the planet, the sky turned into fire. Silent ships struck with beams that melted rock, but Jace's fleets held the line. He controlled them with thought. His mind connected to every pilot, every turret, every system. Kale fought beside him, guiding the tech systems, unlocking more ancient defenses. Illyra led the ground forces, standing tall as explosions shook the temple. And then it happened. The silence themselves came down. Not ships, not machines, but beings. Tall, dark, shifting like smoke and metal, their voices like screaming stars. They tried to reach the throne. They tried to kill Jace, but he stood. The throne rose with him, floating in light. He lifted his hand, and the sky burned. Energy poured from the throne, forming a shield around the planet. He struck with power no one had seen in 10,000 years. The silence screamed. One by one, they fell. Some fled. Most vanished into ash. The battle ended as quickly as it began. Silence returned. True silence. But not the enemy. Just peace. The throne landed softly. Jace stepped down, exhausted but alive. The people cheered. Across the galaxy, voices rose in unity. For the first time in centuries, the stars were safe. Jace didn't speak much after that. He knew the silence might return one day. But now, the galaxy was ready. The throne was whole, and the Starborn were no longer forgotten. Kale became the voice of the new alliance, leading the rebuilding. Illyra trained the next defenders, soldiers who would fight with honor, not power. And Jace became a legend. Some say he still sits on the throne, his mind watching the stars. Others say he walks among forgotten worlds, looking for those who are lost like he once was. But one truth remains. Everyone remembers the day. They laughed at the boy on the throne, and everyone remembers the silence that followed.